Once again, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Chamber's Government Affairs Forum featuring Massachusetts State Treasurer Deborah Goldberg. I'm Jim Mooney, President and CEO of the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce, and this is a little bit different for us having it in Bank of America space like this. So please join me in thanking our friends at Bank of America for hosting us. Well, our Government Affairs Forum at the Chamber is really the leading forum for connecting the business community with leading officials in state and local government, and today is no exception as we feature our guest speaker, State Treasurer and Receiver General Goldberg. We'll hear her vision for driving meaningful impact through the Office of the Treasurer. But before we begin, I want to acknowledge and condemn the acts of terrorism that occurred this past weekend in Israel.
James, speak up.
Oh, I'm sorry. The mic slipped down on me. The Jewish community around the world is mourning, and we, the business community, are grieving with those who have lost family and colleagues during this difficult time. With these cowardly and barbaric acts of terror, Hamas has brought immense suffering on the innocent civilians of both Israel and Palestine. The Chamber and the business community will continue to stand with the Jewish community and for the safety of all innocent lives. And I'm sure our treasurer will have more to say about that when she comes up. I know that we're all feeling it and horrified by what we're seeing on TV these days. Couple of commercial messages. Upcoming events at the Chamber on December 13th, our Women's Network will be hosting a conversation with Jenny Holliday, President of Encore and Chamber Board Member. On November 1st, we'll feature Congressman Jake Auchincloss. You can find out about these and other events hosted by the Chamber at bostonchamber.com. And don't forget to join today's conversation on the Chamber's Public Policy Twitter at GBCC Policy. We're almost ready to welcome the State Treasurer to the podium, but I also want to thank our partners. Thank you to our friends at Comcast who help bring our government affairs programs to a wider audience. And finally, I want to thank our long-standing sponsor of the Government Affairs Forum, Bank of America, not only for being a sponsor, but hosting us here today in this wonderful space. And with that, I'm pleased to turn it over to Maurice Coleman, tax credit syndication and investment executive, and does a lot of other things here at Bank of America, to introduce our speaker today. Maurice?
Good morning. Good morning. Oh, come on, we have the State Treasurer with us today. We can do better than that. Good morning.
Good morning.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us here today. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
As Jim mentioned, my name is Maurice Coleman, and I am a community development banking executive. I also have the honor and the distinction of serving on our Greater Boston leadership team. So on behalf of Bank of America and all of my teammates across the Commonwealth, I want to say it's a pleasure to have you here with us today for this Government Affairs Forum. As a long-standing sponsor of the Chamber's Government Affairs Forum, I want to begin by extending deep gratitude and appreciation to Jim Rooney and the Chamber team for continued conversations with influential government leaders here in Greater Boston and all throughout our Commonwealth. Can we give them a round of applause? I'm absolutely honored to be here with you today because I have a chance to introduce our featured speaker, Massachusetts State Treasurer Deborah B. Goldberg. As a Massachusetts State Treasurer and Receiver General, Deborah Goldberg is responsible for the state's cash and debt management, for unclaimed property, and she chairs the state's boards and commissions. Also, Treasurer Goldberg is responsible for the state's lottery, which generates over $1 billion in revenue that benefits the cities and towns throughout our entire Commonwealth. In 2015, she had the strategic vision to create the Office of Economic Empowerment, the first of its kind in the country. And she chairs the Economic Empowerment Trust. Since taking office, the State Treasurer continues to bring innovative leadership, disciplined fiscal management, and an unwavering commitment to uphold economic stability while creating opportunity for all of Massachusetts residents. Treasurer, it is truly an honor to have you here with us today. So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and please help me bring to the podium our state treasurer, Deborah B.
All right, we're gonna do a mic check. How are we doing in the back row? Jim McDonald, can you hear me? Of course, everyone knows they can hear me even when I don't have a microphone. Just ask everyone in the office. Or ask my husband, who appears to be working for the Mass School Building Authority today, or at least that's what his name badge says, and I don't dare tell the Bank of America people in the front row. He actually works for JP Morgan. Uh-oh. But that's okay. Truthfully, this building means a great deal to me. Stop and Shop's annual meetings for the shareholders were here every single year before the hostile takeover. And that's why when I speak to some of the business executives who I might be bringing news about our proxy voting guidelines to, which are extremely progressive guidelines, I say to them, I was in your shoes and I know you can be an extraordinarily successful business and still do the right things. So with that, this has been a horrific week. Please know that your Jewish friends here in Boston, in Massachusetts, are in severe pain. Severe pain. There's no ambiguities right now. For me to have seen an intellectual, world-renowned individual on CNN say, well, what do you expect? 75 years of occupation and apartheid. Well, clearly this individual hasn't read a history book. We'll start with that. I can tell you my father's grandfather moved to Palestine in 1910 and purchased his home in East Jerusalem. He did not take it from anyone, and he did not shove anyone out. And so this is a complex region of people who have fought each other for thousands and thousands of years. And to see 31 student groups at Harvard University cheer what has occurred makes one question the intellectual capacity and humanity of these individuals. Who cheers a 97-year-old woman Holocaust survivor who survived the camps being dragged into Gaza? Noah. Or, as we saw yesterday, beheaded babies. So I'm sorry if I'm starting on a very down note. I haven't slept since Saturday morning. This is very raw. I've been in Boston. I'm the 5th generation. My kids are the 6th, but my husband was born in Ramat Gan. And by the way, it is true I was conceived in Jerusalem in 1953. True story, Friday night at the YMCA. Why, you ask? Because the King David did not have good food post-World War II, and my mother and father liked good food. True story. But this is the culmination of watching many things go on, and we are going to see, as things progress, increased anti-Semitism in this country. And I ask for all of you to be educated, to understand the real issues, to have an open mind, but to know that I do not support any killing of any civilian, no matter what their religion or background. But this is a very bad situation, and we have no idea where it's going to go. I can assure you that the news cycle will change and it will turn on Israel. And what happens here in this country, we have yet to know. So with that, I needed to say all this, and then I'm going to shift to Maurice Mihal is in trouble. Mihal Chamberlain from Bank of America, everyone deliver him this message, because I'm going to request that you introduce me next time. Kim, I can see you in tears over there. So, Jim, the Chamber, I want to thank all of you for inviting me to speak here today. And I'm going to make this an interesting conversation, even if I upset everybody to begin with. But you got to know I had to. And it's good to see so many familiar faces, including Team Goldberg. You obviously got the memo. So thank you, Team Goldberg, all of you who are here, including your new member of the Mass School Building Authority, my husband, Michael Winter. And Michael, typically, as you remember, Jim, kind questions and answers. It's going to be hard to do that because you have Terry Kwan to the left of you, and she's not going to let go. You know, you've known her for 25 years. She isn't letting you go. So it is a pleasure to be here with those who help keep our economy vibrant and strong in Boston and throughout the state. I'm very proud, not a little proud, of the work that we do at Treasury, because our focus is to ensure economic security and economic opportunity for every Massachusetts resident. We strive to achieve this goal by investing in our people, our communities, and our small businesses. I mentioned my relationship to Stop and Shop. So how could I have ever come into the treasurer's office and not viewed it as maybe a separate set of agencies, but all connected with a common mission? And we have that common mission of ensuring together in each area that we are touching the lives and improving the lives of everyone here. And even though I see a little bit of everything, from Clean Water Trust to the Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission, Ralphie, I know you must be here. And from the lottery, shout out lottery, to unclaimed property, our mission remains the same: creating opportunity and ensuring economic stability in this state. By continuing to invest in education, infrastructure, economic development, and increased unrestricted, this microphone is funky, unrestricted local aid, it has a life of its own. You're right, Jim, it sinks. We are creating a more prosperous and resilient future. As you know, I am thrilled to continue. It's a ghost. I am thrilled to continue in this work, having been the second longest serving treasurer in the history of the Commonwealth. Bob Crane was the first. And I have made a decision that I could probably beat his record. It's doable. We have longevity in my family, 26 years, just so you know, Jim. Jim just asked. Now we're going to turn to the serious stuff. The bond rating. My favorite topic. Whenever I go to an event, the first thing I talk about is how sexy bonds are. And people really look at me like there is something strange going on here. One of the most important ways we secure our future is by maintaining a strong and stable credit rating. I want to see a lot of nods in the front row. Rating agencies have taken notice of Massachusetts's confident navigation through the fiscal disruptions of the pandemic and the continued rise of the state's rainy day fund. It was my mantra from before even being elected that we had to build the rainy day fund. Despite economic uncertainties, I am proud to say our rainy day fund balance has reached a historic high of approximately $8.1 billion, or approximately 12% of budgeted operating expenditures. From when I arrived, it was $1.2 billion, just to give you context, and is providing excellent coverage for when, no doubt, it will rain again. The state's collaborative leadership and commitment to sound fiscal practices led to a well-deserved and hard-fought-for, in my mind, long overdue, upgrade from Standard & Poor's in April of this past year. They raised the Massachusetts General Obligation long-term credit to AA+ with stable outlook from AA positive outlook. And boy, did we fight for that. And upgraded bonds backed by annual appropriations from the state, as well as upgraded our Commonwealth Transportation Fund bonds to AAA. All this helps my debt team enormously, and those who work with them, when demand for our bonds remains strong. So I want to really report to you that even with the volatility and the increases in inflation, we've been in the market, and it may be a little bit tougher. My head of debt is a black belt in karate, but we make it happen, and we make it happen. Why? For the people who live here in this state. By making investments in our infrastructure, our roads, our schools, we continue to make Massachusetts a competitive place for businesses to thrive. Now, turning to the state's pension fund, Mass Prim. The team has constructed a portfolio that performs well in both up and down markets. Despite a challenging market and persistent geopolitical and economic crises, we continue to outperform our peers and our benchmark. The fund has continued to advance its work with diverse investment managers through the Future Initiative, created after the investment equity legislation passed in collaboration with partners on Beacon Hill. Prim has allocated more than $9 billion, or almost 10%, to firms owned and operated by women, people of color, and those with disabilities, and we are just getting started. The Future Initiative takes important steps towards addressing inequities while still ensuring we are maximizing returns. Prim is also on the front of sustainable investing, or what I would call, and did in New York with Bond Buyer, common sense. Literally common sense, what every successful, savvy business person has always done. Our groundbreaking partnership with MIT Sloan School helps to reduce the ambiguity around these types of investments and improves the quality of measurement and decision-making that puts us in a position as an industry thought leader in enterprise risk. And a newly created standing committee will help oversee this strategy and improve our ability to deliver long-term returns for beneficiaries. These initiatives, again, position Prim as an industry leader as we continue to generate consistent returns. The PRIT Fund ended fiscal year 2023 with a record balance of $96.6 billion, surpassing the previous record of $95.7 set in fiscal year 2021. So even with extreme volatility in the market, the fund returned 6% gross and posted strong positive gains in each of the last 3 consecutive quarters. And with all the talk you hear about private equity, in fiscal year 2023, Prim's private equity portfolio ranked third of 176 U.S. public pension plans based on 10-year performance. As we all remember, and we all must remember, Prim has an eye on the long term. We never ride the volatility of the markets, and we never overreact to them. And we are on track as planned to be fully funded in 2036. Clean Water Trust, something very few people know about. However, you do benefit from it. It's a successful operational fund that provides money to municipalities for safe water infrastructure and generates economic activity for businesses. The trust has continued its 2 great grant programs targeted at removing lead from drinking water. The first program, the School Water Improvement Grant Program. Don't worry, I never say that, and I never say it fast. We call it SWIG, which is probably the best acronym in state government. So right now you can all take a swig of your coffee or water, or iced coffee. This provides schools that have identified lead, and through a free testing program with Mass DEP, and can use grant funding to purchase and install water bottle filling stations. Since its inception in January of 2020, it has provided $1.7 million to replace 565 fixtures in 227 schools, serving an estimated 110,200 kids. Thank you. These projects are the first step in removing all lead service lines from our drinking water systems. I do want to mention PFAS. As we learn more about the health risks posed by PFAS in our drinking water, the Trust has moved to make the cost of borrowing as low as possible to help these projects move towards construction and not be held up by the cost of borrowing. Since January of 2020, the Trust has offered 0% interest rate financing for all PFAS projects and has committed to financing $198 million in projects throughout the Commonwealth. For those who don't know what PFAS is, you're allowed to pick up your phones and Google. It's not good. Not only do these projects improve public health and environmental quality, but, and this is critical, business communities, they create jobs. They promote environmental sustainability and stimulate economic activity. We are working closely with the EPA and the Massachusetts Congressional Delegation because the federal funds that we get for all this are really, really critical, and support for the Trust continues. These resources are essential to ensuring Massachusetts residents have access to the simplest thing that one needs in life, clean drinking water. This is committed to a healthy future for everyone. Another area we work directly with communities is the Massachusetts School Building Authority, which partners with local communities to build and renovate sustainable, efficient, and affordable schools. I always say to people, the mission of the Mass School Building Authority isn't bricks and mortar. It's the learning that goes on inside the buildings, giving teachers and students the tools they need to assure being prepped for our Massachusetts economy. It's a direct connection to economic growth and economic stability. We provide technical assistance and support of educational plans, and we engage the local communities in the grant-making process to promote this. We have updated our policies to further support districts in being able to afford their share of the projects, ensuring that districts can use all available federal and state grants and rebates to offset their share of the costs. We are implementing informational roundtables to districts to share the potential opportunities available in the new investment tax credit. I have been particularly personally concerned about the escalating costs to districts caused by inflation, increasing construction costs, and have been working closely with the legislature to address many of these challenges. The funding formula had not changed since the authority was created in 2006. I don't know about all of you, but my costs all changed since then. And I'm thrilled to let you know that that work with the legislature resulted in changes within the fiscal year 2024 budget, which lifts the MSBA cap. And you're like, cap? Yes, they capped how much we could spend. That's a little known fact. So they lifted the cap from 800 million to 1.2 billion. And this will allow us to address the growing demand for school building assistance. Secondly, and this was very critical, particularly from the last year, the fiscal year 2024 budget also dedicates $100 million in one-time funding for school building construction projects impacted by COVID-related inflation. I am grateful to our partners in the legislature for providing these important resources that will assist the MSBA in fulfilling its mission of supporting quality education for our future generations. Now I'm going to talk about what is typically everyone's favorite topic, the lottery. And no, I'm not giving you any numbers. All I can do is sign the back of the tickets.
It's at 1.7 billion right now.
Not too shabby. Go out and buy a ticket as soon as you leave here, please. For the past 50 years, and it's actually 51, we celebrated the 50th last year, and it was founded by Bob Crane. And there actually is someone in this room, a few people in this room, who knew Bob Crane, right, Jim?
Thank you, yeah.
Has supported our local communities by providing critical, unrestricted, that's a magic word to local communities. I'm a former chairman of the board of what at the time was called Selectmen, now it's Select Board. Unrestricted local aid to every one of our 351 cities and towns. Since selling its first ticket on March 22nd, 1972, the lottery has generated over $149 billion in revenues, awarded over $105 billion in prizes, paid over $8 billion in commissions and bonuses to our statewide network of retailers, and returned over $32 billion in net profit to the Commonwealth in unrestricted local aid. One of the best businesses in Massachusetts. One of the best businesses in Massachusetts with an operating overhead of under 1%. Mark, I got that number right? Oh, excuse me, 1.9. I forgot. All right, I'll take that. And I challenge any other business in Massachusetts to match that. Certainly when I was at Harvard Business School and we were doing business plans, we didn't use 1.9%. To ensure we safeguard this crucial funding for local services in an increasingly competitive marketplace, we are constantly looking to innovate. In fiscal year 2023, the lottery topped $6 billion in sales for the first time ever. We brought in more revenue than ever before, paid out more prizes than any previous year, and returned a record high profit to the local communities, all 351. Working with one of the lowest advertising budgets in the business, and I mean any business, $4.5 million on $6 billion in revenues, and statutory constraints, this team makes miracles happen. I want to repeat that. $4.5 million for an operating company of $6 billion. That's controlled, by the way, as a line item at the legislature. In case you're talking to anybody and think maybe we could use a little bit more money, shall we remind them there is inflation and that the people we advertise with want more money? In February, we launched a new $50 ticket. Raise your hand in this room if you've ever bought one. Yes, I love you. My own personal accountant is very disturbed because his wife likes it and has been buying it a lot. And I said, I clearly am paying you too much. It's called the $1 Billion Extravaganza and has generated over $721 million in sales. It was the most successful instant ticket per capita in the first month of sales in the history of all instant tickets in the whole country. And by the way, we were not the first to do a $50 ticket. There are even people out there thinking about $100 tickets, but we have been the most successful. The one ticket alone will bring in over $80 million in commissions and bonuses for our agents, and more than $13 million in additional tax revenue for the state. As a reminder, sharing in the lottery's accomplishments are our network of more than 7,000 retailers who sell our products. In fiscal year 2023, retailers earned a record $350 million in commissions and bonuses. That averages over $45,000 per. We look forward to working with our partners in the legislature as well as our retail partners to ensure the lottery's success for another 50 years. I do also want to make mention about our team at the Alcoholic Beverages Control Commission, who are always ready, willing, and able to help our small businesses and promote local economic development. Despite the challenges posed by the pandemic, they performed extraordinarily well, positively impacting local economic development while preserving public safety. I cannot tell you the number of calls at the end of the day, and when I refer to end of day, I'm not talking about 5 p.m., I'm talking about 11 p.m., where I would be speaking with Ralph Sacramone about what can we do for these restaurant owners and coming up with ideas and plans to keep them liquid. And I don't mean that literally in terms of alcohol, I mean in terms of money, and keep them going through the pandemic. And we literally would talk about it and then take proposals to the legislature. And you all know what that resulted in. The takeout with cocktails. For those who wanted to close, their ability to not have to pay all their insurance and still be able to get their licenses continued and then pay when they reopened. Many small things that no one in this room have heard about that help the retail restaurants keep going, and now they are thriving. And we had a lot less people go out of business than many other states in this country. The ABCC has recently expanded their outreach, license compliance with training programs and special events to support everyone, but most particularly people of color and low-income communities, showing them how to open and manage successfully in this type of regulated environment. We want every area to have economic vitality, and we all know what a good restaurant does for a neighborhood. During fiscal year 23 and fiscal year 24, they've conducted 15 compliance seminars to assist alcoholic beverage stakeholders. During these seminars and municipality trainings, 1,500 alcoholic beverage stakeholders, including licensees, have participated, and 13 Massachusetts municipalities were visited, including gateway cities, Barnstable, Brockton, Chelsea, Lawrence, Salem, Springfield, and Worcester. During fiscal year 23, they also translated their frequently asked questions on its website into 11 additional languages. 11 to expand access to a wide range of small businesses. Working with communities is crucial to understanding and meeting the long-term needs of local small businesses as they navigate increased costs of living and complex financial decisions, big or small. Now, that's what leads me into the Office of Economic Empowerment. That's not just a groovy expression. Groovy, I'm showing my age. But OEE has created high-impact programs to literally take our mission of economic opportunity and security throughout the state. It isn't just buzzwords that I came up with to run on. It's like, I don't do things just to say them. I do them to get them done. Our baby step savings plan, for those of you who don't know, and you might have a daughter, cousin, neighbor, you name it, who's about to have a baby, this is our seeded savings accounts that we kicked off, talk about timing being challenging, January 2020. Through public-private partnerships and our 501c3 trust fund, also very unique in state government. Families who check the box on their birth certificate work can open up a 529 savings account, and we deposit the first $50. This is for every baby born or adopted in Massachusetts, and then we wrap financial education around them and their families. This program begins to prepare the children's future, their post-secondary education, community college, or vocational and technical training. And I purposely mention that because in this state, you can go a long way in the voc tech fields. To date, including that first year of the pandemic when I didn't get to go on my roadshow and go to every city in town and say, families check the box, there have been 30,000 accounts opened as of this week. Compared to previous years at the same time, we're actually at 10% more accounts for babies born in 2023. This indicates excellent growth, and even more so given the economic environment people are finding themselves in. People are squeezed, and yet they are saving. And in case you're gonna ask me a question, Jim, how can that little amount make a difference? We have all the statistics. You don't have to ask me because I'm gonna answer now. We have the statistics that once you get people on the path, they aspire to their post-secondary education, and they save enough, and most importantly, do not assume the same kind of debt. That is critical to Massachusetts' economy. In low-income zip codes across the Commonwealth, the uptake since the program's launch has increased by 44%, a far greater rate than the higher income zip codes. So despite what some people might try to say to you, Baby Steps promotes sustainable and consistent engagement. 32% of the accounts have set up automatic contributions. through Fidelity, ensuring future savers. This is significant. And our newest expansion, SNAP, into baby steps. Don't you like that? We spend a lot of time on these names. SWIG, SNAP into baby steps, is offering increased benefits for kids in the SNAP program. We also have led a diverse cross-sector coalition to develop and propose a Massachusetts baby bonds program. Now, don't confuse baby steps with baby bonds. I know the word baby is in both, but they do very different things. This would bring asset building opportunities like buying a home, starting a business, and also accessing higher education for those kids in our most vulnerable communities. This program would help future generations achieve upward mobility, saving taxpayers money, and developing an overall healthier economy. It's proactive, which is the way to solve long-term problems. And then, very importantly, and a high priority to me, I continue to advocate and will actually be testifying before the legislature for Massachusetts to join the growing number of states that require schools to offer financial education. To me, it's a no-brainer, and I'm sure it is to all of you. Financial literacy education is not equally accessible nor widely available. According to our report on personal financial literacy education in Massachusetts, in 2021, 73% of school districts who took part in the study noted they do not require schools to teach any personal finance to their students. No wonder these kids are getting out of school, they're offered a credit card, and off they go. Wonder how many of them are buying iPhone 15 right now, but not even worrying about the long-term costs. Financial literacy is not just a skill, it's a necessity. Young people today face a complex and dynamic economic landscape that poses both challenges and opportunities. It is critically important for them to possess the knowledge to budget, save, invest, borrow, and navigate our incredibly complex financial system. And trust me, even whether it's kids in higher income neighborhoods or in lower income neighborhoods, they don't know. And the only way to reach them, because we had a financial literacy task force that studied the landscape, 35 people, I gave them 6 months to come up with an action plan. We executed the whole thing. But the one thing they couldn't execute was mandating it in the schools. Our bill that we are proposing creates another public-private partnership. We're not trying to mandate something that doesn't come with money. And education for the educators, also very critical. Sustaining and growing our workforce, this will be a critical component, but it's also the overall challenge for both businesses and government in the coming years. In order to do so, and I had a conversation with the head of economic development, the secretary, who all of you know, we must invest in childcare infrastructure. And by the way, when I was at my national meeting last week, it was a gentleman who brought up that issue in a question. This isn't just a woman's issue. This is an economic working families issue. And we need to relieve this growing and significant problem. The pandemic brought to light the instabilities in this ecosystem, particularly for women and working families. But women were disproportionately impacted, leaving the workforce during the pandemic due to the lack of available and affordable childcare. And by the way, many of them have not returned. Additionally, Percentage of women in this state is greater than men. So if a business needs workers, we're crippling a significant number of available qualified workers by not ensuring they can get any child care, but affordable child care. To mitigate the strain on pandemic families, my office partnered with citizens and developed a grant and training program in 2 cities considered child care deserts, Lynn and Springfield. We issued grants of up to $4,500 for individuals interested in starting their own family child care business. Not only did these grants foster new small business owners, but also brought much relief to families who could now go back to work without worrying. The lack of accessible childcare is just one challenge in retaining an educated workforce. These challenges are why my HR department implemented a comprehensive workforce recruitment and retention plan. With this plan, we can better assess our shortcomings and hold ourselves accountable to create a more inclusive and desirable place for people to work. And I do know that businesses all across the state are looking at this because they're all experiencing the same things and trying to steal my people. Not kidding. Another area where my office looks to promote opportunity is our small business initiative. This work invests in our communities by empowering the entrepreneurs and innovators who drive our economy forward. Last year, our Treasury team launched an online, statewide small business toolkit on how to plan, maintain, and grow successful small businesses for budding entrepreneurs all over the state. And I'm going to tell you, I attended an event with some of these entrepreneurs. They're amazing. They just need the information. They have a thirst for this knowledge. These valuable educational materials provide new and existing small business owners with this important information: business planning, maintenance, and managing growth where it won't suffocate you. In collaboration with citizens, SBI hosted free virtual workshops called the Small Business Financial Empowerment Series to provide entrepreneurs with what they would need to create a stable and growing business. And I'm looking over to my right, and I know we have people from M&T. We are very happy to work with you on additional small business initiatives. Although I will tell you they have supported our baby step savings plan. Investing in our communities makes Massachusetts more competitive, more resilient, and particularly in the face of uncertainty. It makes it more attractive to talent and innovation and pays off for all of us. One thing I've always want to emphasize is this is a very macro approach to ensuring long-term economic growth and stability in Massachusetts. In conclusion, and my husband's going, I gotta get to the office. I want to acknowledge the vital role that all of you as business leaders play in driving our economy forward. You help ensure that we are a leader in so many business sectors. Biotechnology, education, one of our biggest drivers in the state. Healthcare, another one, and clean energy. And you help make Massachusetts a great place to live, work, and do business, and also to serve as one of your elected officials. The key to our success is through partnership and collaboration. Together, in collaboration and partnership, we can build a more prosperous and equitable Massachusetts for not only ourselves, but for our children. Thank you.
We're going to trust
She goes, boom. Bye, Michael. See, he stayed till the end of the speech, because what I do when he comes home and asks me what's for dinner, I go, what was the last line of my speech? Poor guy, right?
Treasurer Goldberg, first of all, thank you for such a comprehensive update. I have 5 pages of questions here, and you hit every topic. So, but you know, you did stimulate some thoughts. You know, it's clear from your remarks and your actions over time that you take the job of being the fiscal custodian for the state very seriously. But in listening to some of the highlights, I think more than any treasurer that I've sort of experienced, back to Crane, I haven't heard someone articulate in the way you have being the treasurer for children. There's so many programs woven into the work that you do. When you add them all up, it's has such a tremendous focus on children in the future of Massachusetts. Talk about that. Talk about sort of the drive to sort of embed that within the work that you do.
What? Am I on? Yes. What mom and what grandmother wouldn't be thinking about children's future? And if we can, look, this world is difficult for kids. Really difficult for kids. So many barriers are created. And, I mean, financial education should be a no-brainer. I'm going to tell you all, it's an embarrassment to me that my colleagues, the treasurers of the other New England states, their communities have mandatory financial education. But we're supposed to be the most progressive? Financial education teaches you more about how to do well in life than, trust me, geometry does. I told someone last night that I flunked algebra when I was 14, and I'm still the treasurer, and still was a pretty successful business person. If we give kids the opportunities, the tools, the education, the educational buildings that they actually learn in, public education is the greatest equalizer that you can probably invest in. And not just the programs, but the environments. And that is the key to a solid economy. Break down the barriers. Don't crush them with debt. Get them through the educational pipeline. We have good paying jobs in Massachusetts. We just need all the people to be educated and fill them. And so if we can achieve that, and it has to be incremental, you can't come up with magical formulas. And that's what we do, not just through our Office of Economic Empowerment. This is our general mission of touching every group we can. When you take care of a veteran's family, and we have veterans benefits in my office, they have children. When we give the veterans and their families and the service members financial education, they can take care of their children, and then they teach their children. Every area of our office, and we have 13 departments, is focused ultimately on one thing. Well, it's 3 things, but it's one common feeling. Economic opportunity, economic security, and economic stability. And that begins with the youngest, and us taking care of everyone, even through seniors.
Well, thank you for being the children's treasurer, if you are. So you did a good job covering the lottery, but I have to ask a lottery question. I'll work in two things here.
Oh, I have a feeling.
First, we introduced gaming in the state. There was some concern about the impact that would have on the lottery. And second, you've been a supporter of moving the lottery online. Your thoughts on those 2 issues?
So, this comes from my Stop and Shop background. When you're the #1 operator in your business environment, do you sit on your laurels and let other newbies come in and step all over your business? That's where we're at. Sports betting's online. Daily Fantasy Sports is online. Now we've got, what's the name of them, Mark? Jackpot, whatever? Jack Pocket. Online, delivering lottery tickets. Mass State Lottery is not available online. Strategically, there is no logic to me whatsoever, given they're all for profit. They're not giving money back to the local communities. They're not giving money to the state. Sure, minimal tax revenues compared to us. I don't get it. And I've been requesting this year after year. The House went along with it this year, but the Senate did not. The governor supports this. I want to make that very clear. So we still do our thing with our $4.5 million ad budget. Now, soon you're going to see me in meetings like this singing lottery ads, because that's all we're going to be able to afford. But candidly, all kidding aside, lottery does an incredible job, and no matter how many roadblocks they throw in front of us, we do incredibly creative and innovative things in-house, I might add, in order to achieve what it is we are achieving, because we are driven by our mission.
So I'm going to end with a question on your thoughts. You alluded to this, but I'd like to hear more about your thoughts about economic headwinds and tailwinds when you think about those things. And if you could work in your thoughts about the impact of a federal shutdown if that happens.
Oh, give me a heart attack.
30-something days or whatever it is now.
So, it's the beginning of the summer when we were talking about the debt ceiling. None of my friends were stressed out about the debt ceiling. I was clutching my chest on a daily basis, and they just weren't thinking about it. So, this liberal Jewish girl from Brookline, who people would anticipate wouldn't worry so much about economics, and I do. I've been very conservative about how we manage our finances in Massachusetts. That's why from the beginning, when we only had a $1.2 billion rainy day fund, I pushed and pushed and pushed and had to educate legislators and many different people on why this was relevant. It was seen as a pot of money that you could spend out of. Well, slowly but surely we got people on board, and we do have a solid rainy day fund, thank God, and we have everyone committed to it. Another thank God. Our problem today is we are bombarded by a lot of external factors. For us in Massachusetts, our biggest challenge is workforce. We have, for the first time in a long time, we are losing population, and in the age group 24 to 40. You know that, Jim. A lot of people don't want to admit it, but it's a series of factors that if we could have the insight to address them up front, we could stop the bleeding. That worries me. Shutdowns worry me in Washington. And so consequently, just like Prim and our strategies there, we will give up the upside in order to protect from the downside of the pension fund, but Massachusetts needs to continue to be cautious and careful and try to invest its state money, and I'm not talking about our cash management as your treasurer, because we, thank God, do a good job at that, but in terms of spending, ensuring that we're taking the steps that will sustain our economy over time. And what's so great about my prior relationship with Charlie Baker and my relationship today with Maura Healey is that we have these conversations on an ongoing basis. And I want to just mention one thing about the upgrade. We probably, in terms of most recent past, deserved the upgrade last December. But I'm going to tell you the rating agencies were waiting to see Maura Healey's first budget. And you'll note the upgrade came in April. So we have a governor who gets it, who listens to some of the right people, and we will need to proceed in a cautious but in a growth position. And look at each month, each quarter, each year individually, and sort of, I always felt one of the great success factors of us at Stop and Shop was our nose. I call that instinct, and use our instincts. Because instincts, if you can free them up, will tell you a lot.
Well, Treasurer, you might have caught Maurice and I whispering during your remarks once or twice. And I want to end by telling you one of the things we were whispering about was when you were giving the PRIM update, and you mentioned 9% of the portfolio in women, people of color, and people with disabilities. And I whispered to Maurice, I didn't know that. And he's told me that that's the best in class, that the highest he's heard of is 7%. So I didn't want that to go unnoticed, so congratulations.
And I want to congratulate you on achieving parity on your board.
How about
For
that?
those who don't know, the chamber has done so, and I will tell you, Jim, I used to look at the photos of your board a while ago, and my proxy voting guideline on boards, and I'm going to really go slowly with this because everyone misses it. We don't vote for a board that doesn't have 35% women. And A-N-D underlined in bold, 35% people of color. When I arrived, it was one and done. Either one woman or one person of color. And we have a lot of boards who are trying to achieve that. Why? This isn't a social good, and Jim will tell you that. It's not a social good. When you have a board that's more there's more women, more people of color, they represent your market. They represent your customers. They're not a little segment that has one idea about things. And companies that do this are more successful, more innovative, and bottom line, more successful. So I congratulate you on your success. Welcome.
Well, I appreciate that, and I want to thank you for not only joining us here today, but for leading in your position with the passion, the intellect, and as I said, with your focus on children with the right set of priorities. Thank you, Treasurer Goldberg.